Recording is on.
Okay, recording is on.
Mhm.
Yeah, Joey,
So what were you talking about, Joe?
about
Oh,
bundle
I
stuff.
I wanted to wait to show it, but I came up with a experimental tool for Gershwin where you can run this command like on a Debian system called, I'm calling it package wrap for now.
Where you can run what?
I'm calling it package wrap for now, and I was going to make other backends for it, but it'll basically take a Debian package file. Like, so if you go download like Slack or something, or Steam or Google Chrome or anything like, or you just specify a name of a package that's in an app repo or point it to a directory, it'll make an entirely self-contained application bundle. And in a lot of cases, I've been getting the bundles as they are to run on FreeBSD with just the FreeBSD Linux kernel module loaded with no. So FreeBSD typically has, like, if you want to install Discord, you have to install, or Steam, you have to install like package install Linux Steam, and then it pulls in like an old Red Hat Linux 9 base, and then a lot of the packages have incompatible bases from one another. Like, so Discord might use Ubuntu, and then another app runs Red Hat, and then the packages conflict, and you can't have both on the same system.
Mm-hmm.
But with what I was able to do, like package wrap space Chromium, I could take that bundle in like a disk and a Squash FS image, double click the image, mount it in Gershwin, copy it to my applications, and then just run it on FreeBSD unmodified. Even though it was basically built on a Debian system, and it's basically it's putting everything needed for that application inside of a bundle. So like no packages are installed on the system. So it's rewriting the RPaths and using some LD preload stuff. Like, so it's pretty much like app image, but I just automated it with a command.
Right. It sounds like a lightweight containerization.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. It's more of a cheroot because it's not like a sandbox or anything, but
yeah, that is, yeah. It does. I'm sorry. It does sound like. Sorry about that. Okay. Well, yeah. Um, you said you were gonna. You said you were gonna show it. Is that what you?
yeah, I can now if you want to see it.
Sure.
I should know if there was other stuff to go over. Okay, hang on.
Who is Usama? The person next to you. Usama Maxim.
Are you talking to me?
No, yes, I am.
Oh,
I'm saying who is the person next to you. You see it?
no.
You don't see the person called Usama Maxim in the chat.
Oh,
Okay.
no, I'm not sure.
Okay. Have they spoken at all?
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
Hello, Usama.
Hello. Yeah. Go ahead and show us, please, if you may.
Okay, you see my screen?
No.
Oh, sorry. Now do you see it?
Yes.
I think this is the right system. Let's see. So it's a little big, 1.76. I'm sorry, that's not right. It's not 1.76 terabytes in size. That's my free space, so that's weird. I'll find another way to show you the size of it, but here's the bundle itself running.
Right.
And then it presents I have all of them presenting a submenu named after the application. and it has the, hide functionality built in. It can quit the application even if it has multiple windows.
Right.
And so if I go here to like package wrap XPDF,
Hmm.
it'll just use cache packages if I've already downloaded some of what it needs, and then download the rest of the packages that are needed, and then assemble it into a binary and make a squashfs image. But unfortunately, this system right here is extracting the packages now. It can't mount the squashfs images, and I think because I have this on a I'll show you this too. So you see, this is connected to a server,
Hmm.
and I'm getting this user account from another machine on the server, and it's putting my path as network users J Maloney application. So this is all actually mounted from another system, and when I log in, I get the profile from the remote system.
Hmm.
And there's some kind of issue with, I either didn't install all of the packages I needed to mount squashfs on this, which I believe I've triple checked. I can't mount these here directly on the system over the network. So it might be a NFS thing that I have to play with the flags, bump the version from 3 to 4 or something like that. I haven't figured that out yet, but it won't, or it's a workspace thing. So I can't mount these directly on this system to show you that part. I'll have to disconnect here and then go to the actual system where it's a local user there. But it's like assembling a bundle here. And then it's going to like rewrite the arc paths, and then it's going to splat out a squashfs. I'm going to cancel it though to show you the mounting on another system.
Hmm. Okay.
Come on. I'll at least attempt to close it cleanly. And then I found yet another bug with the network profiles thing. You notice my shelf shortcut for my users gone when I switch systems, because the paths are totally different. But so if I go here, it's local here on this system, and then I'll go, like I just made this one last night. I don't even know if it works. Ardor, and then I made OBS. So if I double click OBS, that's a squashfs image. I just mounted it. It just created, the CD icon on the desktop, and it crashes with an error. I need to fix something. Let's see if Ardor works. Yeah. There's a regression in my tool. I actually had OBS working.
What is Ardor?
But it's like an open source music production, kind of like a Pro Tools thing.
Okay.
So sadly, those don't work. Let's see if I can find one that does. Well, Chromium, obviously. Basel IRC, that should launch. So I can even run applications right inside the disk image, even without copying them down. And then, eject them. It's putting everything in volumes, making folders there. You can even do stuff like this. And then the other thing I did this month, system preferences was pretty crashy when I would cycle in between all the different preferences that would crash and lock up in places.
Mm-hmm.
I fixed all that stuff. There was NS timer issues, and I did some work on displays. And I've got like you can extend displays and hot plug. Like you can plug in an external monitor and it just automatically extends. And then this will update here with the new monitor and made it so mirror displays works, and you can save settings now. And then I fixed it so you can go to sharing and you can set a completely different host name and see the apply button's gone, but then I can do like, and then the apply button comes up and it'll prompt me for my password. And if I don't have a password on my user, it won't ask at all. But now that that integration is working, so where if something needs a password, that works now. And then let's see, what else I got to show you? Oh, I've just added some things. So like serial number shows more information about the real device it's running on. That's wrong. I'm actually running Xorg on this system, I think. I need to fix that.
Okay.
And sometimes I get this weird crash where the
menu is inside the window.
Yeah.
Inside the window.
That's because of the it's actually using NS Windows 95 style, and then Pro Bono made it like reparent natively into menu.app. But
Oh wow.
when menu.app crashes, it it goes back to the window.
Yeah. Okay.
And under certain conditions, I can make it crash still. And that's also because I'm running in the compositing mode here, I believe. So you see like the effects there with the compositing. But all I'd have to do is just, yeah. But I've actually, for most things, have it working now without any crashing. And I could run it for hours. It's just when I hit certain fixed window menus and things that between window manager and menu things react a little bit badly. So there's more polish to do. And this one is running the experimental compositing mode. So see, it has the animations.
Very nice.
This is why we call it beta software.
Yes, very much so. But getting a lot better. I did patch this, but so you see the menu sticks now, and I don't have to hold the mouse down. And same for right click. I just patched that locally because we're still waiting on Fred to. Well, Fred was waiting on answers from the guy who committed a change to libsgui that made that behavior. But anyway, that's pretty much, I think, what I've been up to. And then I've just spent a lot of experimenting. I was going to ask some questions about libs opal, actually. I had learned while I was experimenting with AI and having AI port different applications just to see kind of vibe coding, if you will, not really putting a lot of serious work into it. That I learned about libs. I know I've seen libs opal before, and my understanding is it adds APIs so you can use like CA layer and different core animation APIs, but it still uses Cairo to draw everything. But it's also like a different backend in libsback that's older than art. So my question was there, Greg, do you know, was that ever intended to replace Caro, or
What?
was
Live
it was?
Opal? Lives Opal? No. Live,
No, the Opal backend, and so
the Opal
the Opal.
backend.
Yes,
Okay. The Opal backend was meant to allow you to use core graphics extensions and stuff like that, so that you could build applications and use and so that it was so that the core graphic stuff would be used to render the windows, so that it would be sort of like part of you know so you could use layers and stuff like that.
right.
Yeah.
So would the project have any interest in not Libs Opal, the Opal backend being brought more up to date with Cairo? I don't know if that's how you say it right.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Um, because I did some experimenting with it, and I just vibed the whole thing, to be honest. I didn't like really sit at it and figure out what the proper fixes were. But it seems like with a little bit of work, it's doable
Hmm.
to bring it up to spec with Cairo and to make those APIs start to work.
Yeah, cool. That would be great. Um, Let me see. We have Bill Auger. Are you there? Okay, it's okay to just listen. All right. Yeah. Let me see. I've been working mainly on fixes for Gorm, so I have really nothing to show this time around. The other thing I've been working on, honestly, is rather off the subject. It's with respect to GNUstep. But one of the things I've always been fascinated with is emulators. Um, and I have one of my favorite 8-bit computers of all time, aside from the Commodore 128, was the Commodore VIC-20, and I wrote a small Objective C based emulator for it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean I've got it.
Uh,
Huh?
this is funny you say this. I just bought Amiga Forever and Commodore 64 Forever, and they sent me DVDs, and I have these. It's not a native Objective C app to run them, but it's a whole package which allows you to run Commodore 64 and Amiga stuff.
Yeah, no, I have Amiga. I have an older version of Amiga Forever, and I love it. Um, yeah, because it gives you all of the ROMs, and it gives you all the ROMs and stuff to play with. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, no, I mean, I was gonna. I don't know if I should show that. I mean, right now I have it building, and it's coming up, but it's not displaying anything. It's displaying a white screen. Um, so it's not really. It's not really. It is the. I'm not using the C version of the 6502 um, emulator. I'm sorry, chip in software. I wrote my own. I wrote a 6502 emulator in Objective C,
Wow, cool.
which some people might find a little bit insane, but hey, it works. I did it because I wanted to learn how things work, how to
Right.
use an emulator, stuff like that. It's actually not that hard. Um, so I mean, but mainly as far as GNUstep is concerned, I have been fixing the grouping functionality in Gorm, as well as some other Gorm related bugs. But I have nothing really to show at this point with respect to that, because I'm still in the midst of fixing it. Let's see.
I thought of one other thing to ask you about.
Sure.
Um, so I was playing around with a sound control panel that Pro Bono had started, and he's got we've got the ability to like set alert sounds and stuff. And it seems like he tried to do something with NS Beep to make alerts work and things like terminal when you, I don't know, is there, I don't know how to write question. I don't know the right way to ask it exactly, but um, is there a thing in GNUstep, or do you know if that functionality works for when an alert comes up in a GNUstep app, that there should be some native way to trigger alert sounds, or would that be something that might be unfinished?
I don't think we've done that. I think that is unfinished. Right now, I know NSBeep, it does call the back end, and
Okay.
I'm not sure what the back end does. It may flash the screen, it may do nothing at all. But I don't think it. I don't think it because the all of the alert sounds, you know, live in GUI.
Right. I found those system library sounds or something. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it is in my layout, but
yeah. I did all of those, by the way.
that was pretty cool to see Susumi or whatever, some of the familiar ones.
Yeah, yeah. I love how Sosumi just goes do like that. You know, yeah. Um, I didn't want to do exact copies of each one.
I'll look into it more later. Then I just, yeah, didn't know if it was something I should expect to work or not, or probably is.
I really don't know, because I don't. I think all it does is just I don't know. I don't know what it does. Okay, that's an interesting question.
Oh, and I was going to mention, I don't know if anyone has interest in long, I think it's called Long Arch. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's kind of like an ARM based platform. I was talking to the developer of Basilisk browser and potential GNUstep toolkit version of that. And um, it's actually like a decent little browser with a less than 100 megabyte footprint. And it actually has really decent JavaScript rendering for things like GitHub and YouTube. And it's not, quite as fast as WebKit or anything, but it's, WebKit is insane with things like WebGL, like playing Quake in a web browser and all this other extra crap that makes it take 12 hours to build the thing. And I was looking at other candidates, because even Ladybird was a couple hours to build it, but this is quite a bit more lighter than that. Um, and anyway, so he committed a pull request to libobjective-C um, repo to fix for that hardware platform. And it looks like it's in a review, so he might.
Which hardware platform?
It's called Long March. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Mm-mm. No.
It's a kind of obscure one.
Long Arch. Never heard
Is
of it.
this Chinese platform?
I think so, yeah. He had mentioned that.
It's like MIPS and some RISC-V extensions also, I heard. Is it like this?
Yep. Anyway, as I was talking to him about things, he got kind of interested in the GNUstep stuff. There may be some collaboration there.
Cool.
Hey.
Let me see. So, Lars, do you have anything to show us today?
I have nothing to show today. I can tell about this GS horizontal typesetter bug.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we can talk about
We
that.
worked on it. We did some refactoring, like renaming variables. And I also created some tickets of possible refactorings or extensions. But Fred was not that happy about it because it was done with the help of AI. And yeah, I didn't know some details about the software. So also I also didn't know this. So it's not needed to make sure the font isn't deallocated and stuff like that. By the way, I heard you very dumped down, Gregory.
What's that?
Your microphone is
Oh, very muted. 1 second. Let's see.
happening there. It's like when a word wraps with a very large cliff in it, for instance, or a very sub or sub scripted clip, then the height of the line is set too early, so the part that doesn't get wrapped is also of the same height as the wrapped part with the larger cliff in it. That's different from how it works in macOS or even OpenStep. So we know what we need to fix, but we don't know how to fix it exactly at the moment.
Can you hear me a little better now?
Now, yeah, you're very clear.
Okay, good. Oh boy. Gosh, I wish we had more people coming today. Okay. I mean, I've seen the work that you guys were doing on the Typesetter. I
We had
think that
there was a merge conflict because somebody else did some worker types that are two, maybe you, Gregory.
no, I haven't touched it.
Whatever. Now it's in a state where we can actually start refactoring it.
You said you can or you cannot.
We can start.
Okay, good. Very good.
The code is now better understandable because variables were named very, very short, like P and G and stuff like that. P was for a point and G was for a cliff or a cliff cache. And then, yeah, it was a little bit like obfuscated coding.
Oh, I wouldn't call it that bad. No. I mean, obfuscated coding is where you make it deliberately confusing. Yeah, but no, that's just well, let me show you guys what I've been working on since we have some time here. Let's see. Oh, good grief. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Window. Can you guys see my
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let me show you guys this first. I generated that using Sora.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So got a little background of
You could have a
all right.
collection of backdrops.
Yeah, of it's it's just our logo,
Looks
but
like stained glass.
it is that yeah, that's what it's supposed to look like. Hey Twilight, how's it going? Yeah, no, I mean, let me see. So, yeah, I've just been, I mean, I'm just going to show you guys code. What I've been working on is fixing, the grouping in Gorm where you basically, have to do, where you can go, hold on, let me see, where you can, uh, say, create a bunch of, put a bunch of things together. Like, for instance, one of them that I coded a very long time ago was the split view stuff, so that you could basically go to format and then group and then split view. But right now, as you can see, it's not working. This is on my experimental branch. Um, for some reason, this functionality was broken about a month and a half ago. I'm not sure why. Something changed in GUI that made it not work properly. Um, I think the change in GUI was correct. I think the way Gorm was doing it earlier was wrong. So what I've been doing is refactoring it a bit so that it uses sort of a common algorithm to combine everything. For each of these grouping, each of these group options, I'm making it so that it validates certain things about the view, computes where the view should be, and then combines them all together in the group. But of course, right now it's not working properly. But that's what I've been working on over the last couple of weeks. Um, aside from that, I don't know if you guys know, I'm studying for my PhD, so been a little bit busy with classwork for the first time in my life, and in the in 30 years. So yeah, let me see. Let me show you guys the emulator that I was talking about. Even though that's not GNUstep, it's still interesting. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know that in the latest version of Xcode, if you have an M4 or M3 processor, that its AI is available. It's actually rather interesting.
I maybe have to switch to version 26 by now because I don't get the latest Xcode anymore. I'm still on 15 something. Let me see. Yeah, 15.7.5 I'm on.
Let me see.
Your emulator is not visible, Craig.
Not yet. I'm not showing anything yet. Okay, can you guys see?
Now you can see it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let me show you the code a bit. Yeah. Here's the code for the CPU. The way I wrote it was that I wanted to see if I could make it relatively fast, even even though it is not purely a switch statement. What I did was I have it so that here's the instruction table for the 6502, and I had it so that I've been working on this since 2018, as you can see right there. Yeah, 2018. So yeah, each one of these, these are all the different opcodes. Some of them are obviously more complicated than others, and it registers, a method for each one of them, and each one of those methods is implemented in this file right here, where it's it does what each of these, is supposed to do, and it alters the state of the CPU internally. So and I have verified it is instruction complete. It does run if I load it with a small like binary. It will run like a small bit of assembly code. Um, and right now, it just when I start it up, it just kind of does. I'll show you. This is the icon I created for it. It does that, which is weird. I mean, it is running some code, it is initializing the CPU. It is initializing my emulation of the VIC chip, not the VIC 2, which is the one that was under the Commodore 64, but the I think it's the 6560 chip, which is the original VIC, which did both video and audio on the VIC 20. So I mean, it's basically and I think in the README I said something like, hold on a second, let me bring up the README here. I said something like yeah, I said, oh god, freaking X, man. Yeah, I said something. I say that this is by no means meant as a replacement for Vice or anything like that. It's basically an educational thing for me and for anybody else who wants to take a look at it and how to write an emulator, just in general, because I think it's a mystery to a lot of people, and it's really not that hard at all. Um, it's just a matter of simulating the quirks of the CPU and the hardware implementation is what make things difficult, because when there's some quirk that is sort of a hardware only thing where it's dependent upon the silicon itself, that's a problem. That's when it starts to become interesting. But just simulating the CPU purely is not. That's pretty damn easy. So dead simple. But anyway, I mean I've been using that to kind of distract myself a little bit, from my classwork, but also to because at some point you can only concentrate on one problem so long, and working on the Gorm bugs was getting a little boring. So I decided to delve back into the emulator for a couple of days over the last week or so. But yeah, and yes, it does build and run under GNUstep.
Funny, I worked or still working on an emulator for Zilog C8
Mm-hmm.
in Java, and I wanted to port it over to GNUstep too. It's a fork of an existing emulator project by somebody else.
What is it called? Hold on.
Send you the link. Wait a moment.
Oh, wait, he said something. Usama says, I think GNUstep will be a bit slower for the core of emulator, maybe pure C, and UI kit for the UI. You do have a point. C would be faster because there is actually an existing, an existing implementation of a 6502 emulator written in C. It's open source. I decided not to use it only because, first of all, hooking things into it seems rather difficult. And I mean, I don't understand the code as well as maybe I should. It's written purely as a very large switch statement, which I guess makes a lot more sense because it's, and it's much more purely, I guess, a mathematical implementation of the CPU than mine is. I know mine is much slower. But the speed is not the point at this point. We're already running about 100 times or at least 500 times faster than a 6502. So my point was simply, make it, do it myself so that I could understand it and learn from it. Let me see. Virtual JTC. Is this you?
Yeah.
Interesting. There. Well, actually, it seems like there is an elephant in the room, guys.
The other one
The
has it only as a download of the zip of the source code, and he is not on GitHub.
mhm.
Put it on GitHub and put some work on it here and there to make some fixes for several things. And it's in the middle of the work now. I've not worked for a long time on it. You reminded me of this project. I remembered it this way.
Right. Are you writing it in Java?
I wanted to port it to Objective-C eventually, maybe
Hmm.
with the help of some AI stuff. Also, I have no idea what I will do in the end.
Usama has a question for you. It says, "I wonder how is that written in Java? It's independent data type based after all." All right.
Don't understand this question.
Yeah. Hey, Pro Bono.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Hello.
Um, Usama, he doesn't understand your question, so if you
Uh,
could reframe it, that would be good. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It would be interesting. I am wondering what you guys think about the discussions on the Swift forums about 2 weeks ago.
this was interesting that somebody else started something and we didn't notice
Hmm.
on purpose.
Hmm?
What is it?
The Swift forums, they mentioned integration with GNUstep.
Oh, okay.
And I forget the name of the gentleman who wrote the initial post, but he was extraordinarily detailed about it, and it looks rather interesting. One of them brought up integration with libobjective-C, um,
Two.
libobjective-C2, and the concerns about ABI differences between Cocoa and GNUstep. Of course, GNUstep is a lot, predates Swift by several, well, by almost a decade. So, ABI compatibility was not a concern
Right.
at that moment. At that moment, source code compatibility was. So it turns out, I mean, that might be a small problem for them, I think, because the fact that they're going to have to adapt um, the what is it the Swift um, code for integration with Objective-C2 and Objective-C interop with the code that's in libobjective-C2
Okay.
and with the Cocoa code as well. I don't know. I think sorry, I said ABI. I meant API. We are API compatible, but let me see. I don't know if are they integrating at the API at that level, or are they integrating at a lower level? I don't know. Um,
Did I find the link?
well, see, I thought that all we had to do was if when I was looking at the Swift code, there was a define for Objective-C interop, Swift Objective-C interop, and I feel like what we needed to concentrate on, and I said this on their mailing list, was that we needed to focus on the code that was in those sections in their compiler and simply re-implement them for GNUstep. The question is whether or not they'll accept the patches or not. I don't know. So
there was some Apple guy on the discussion too, and he didn't seem to be adverted against this or something like that. He seems to be open for it.
Okay.
Cleared
Mhm.
finally. Get an official statement from them.
Yeah, that would be good. I invited them to join the GNUstep discuss list or to email. I mean, I'm gonna go back on there and give them people's emails, but I wanted to make sure that that was okay first. I wasn't gonna put it on the mailing list. I was gonna email the person who actually made the initial post, so that they know who to work with. Because yeah, I'm very interested in Swift integration. It'll help us reach a whole lot, a much wider audience. So hey, pro bono, I was showing them something I had been working on. I was actually working on a VIC-20 emulator to distract myself over the last couple of weeks. I started it in 2018, but I decided to start playing with it again.
Wow,
Yeah,
that sounds like fun.
yeah, I don't know. Some people might call it weird, that a weird way to distract yourself, but yeah, hey, yeah, it's my way. Um, Maybe it explains, what all the stuff I've done on GNUstep. But Usama did reframe their question, Lars. It says, I mean, many emulators depend on many architectural dependent tricks to make the emulation much faster. For example, x86 integer to PowerPC integer conversion. How would it be? How that would be fine in J? Sorry, I think what they're trying to say is how would that be done in JVM or Microsoft IL? I think we're on a whole different discussion there, Usama.
Not at all in the end. He said after so slowly, even the Java implementation had to be throttled down. So it's an 8-bit microcontroller running 4 megahertz or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, oh yeah, I see what you said. You said,
So it's interesting and fine, and yeah. And there's some software for it because a computer is a homebrew computer in the former GDR, where I'm from, German Democratic Republic or East Germany, was built on this. So there's actually software for the emulator.
oh really? Okay, that's interesting.
It's not grown on my pile of dump because I just forked it.
Yeah.
Because the other guy didn't want to put it on GitHub. He said you can do it on GitHub, put it on GitHub, and do whatever you want. Just mention me and keep it GPL v3.
Right.
V3, and yeah, I did something.
Okay. So, what have you been up to, pro bono?
So I would say a little here and a little there, a bit of experimentation with underlying operating systems. We are looking to really downsize the whole system a lot so that it should easily fit on at least a CD-ROM again, ideally much, much less than that. Yeah, so we have been doing some experiments here and there with Tiny Core Linux, and I also played around with OpenWRT, which is more typically used for embedded systems, but could also possibly be an interesting base system to run on. And then, of course, a lot of work is now going into polishing little things here and there and ironing out bugs. So not really great shiny new stuff to show today, at least from me. Joe might have something to show today, but for me, it's mostly been boring 4 weeks.
Yeah, same. I mean, Joe showed what he had worked on with respect to packaging and stuff like that. But yeah, so yeah, you weren't here for that.
Yeah, I think summertime got me again. It happens every year, right? The summertime weather thing with Europe and the US, it
Yeah.
happens every time. So sorry for that. So Joe, did you show already the whole login topic?
What do you mean by login? The network stuff?
Yeah, the whole user management.
Oh, a
Oh,
little bit. I didn't dive into it too much, but I could show a little more.
oh, that was that
Yeah,
before I got
yeah.
here.
No, I just showed you that that system, was running as a network user with DSCLI list, and I didn't show the.
Oh, yeah. If you could go deeper into that, I'd appreciate it. So
Okay.
apparently we're putting you on the spot a lot today, Joe.
No, I don't care. Hang on a second. Share screen again. Allow share screen. No, allow to share. All right. So you guys see my terminals?
Yes.
So you can see this one's run DSCLI list on it. I can see the role as a server, connected clients, which is this system over here,
Hmm.
and then the users that I've created. And I could probably just add a user and show you in real time. Like if I want to DSCLI list here, the role as a client connected to this server. And then if I want to leave, it's just DSCLI leave. That easy. I've left. I'm not part of the domain anymore. I'm a local system again. If I want to join, that easy. It's the same way with the, demoting and promoting a server, but it all the clients have to leave to demote the server. So you would do like DSCLI demote, and it would say, nope, you have one connected client still. All clients must leave.
Ah.
And it's basically just using NI not NIS. It's using NFS for mounting local from this system to network on this system, and then it's basically uh, putting the contents of, for example, local users. Local library directory services, and then I got users plist, group plist. It's like cat that, and you can see like it's got the encrypted password hashes in there, just like you would have in like Etsy password.
Hmm.
But it also does some fancy things like if you look at my J Maloney user, because it's part of admin, it's automatically making it part. Well, even if it's not admin, it automatically adds audio, video, render, input, specialized groups that every user would need to use to run a desktop.
Hmm.
And it's doing that through NSS switch. Basically, yeah, it's got a module here, Gershwin, that lives in system library.
Hmm.
Um, and so you can have a mixture of um, like I don't lock out any existing local accounts that were made, just as standard Linux users or FreeBSD users. But basically, if you make the user with Gershwin, you get a lot more advantages, just a lot more automation of being in groups that should be really common sense for a desktop, and not having to user mod add everything when you install like VirtualBox, or just if you install VirtualBox, it's just going to add you to that group, and things like that. And if you add yourself to the admin when you make a user, it's going to automatically enable sudo and all those things, and there's nothing to set up.
Ah, cool. So
So like on this system here, that's a client, I'll just go enemy, and I'll just do sudo -s password, and there we go. Sudo just works. Nothing more to set up. And if I do like dscli list.
So hold on. DSCLI is something you wrote?
Yes,
Okay.
it's directory service command line interface. So it's got a common list of parameters here. Like you can set a default shell if you want, add the user to the admin group with that, set the real name, user group ID if you want to, do a password thing. But I'll just make a fake user here real quick. DSCLI. Before I do, you've seen here that I've got admin J Maloney on this system, and I'll just add DSCLI, add J Smith,
Mm-hmm.
real name John Smith, and I won't make it admin or anything. Oh, let me see what I miss. DSCLI, add user, user add. I get my own. There we go. So the user account's now created, and I can go over here, DSCLI list.
So now you can log in as John Smith, and
There it goes. Yep, John
very.
Smith. So I could do SU J Smith. And
Oh
now
wow.
I'm J Smith. And
Right.
then I have a directory. Hang on a second. Oh, I
So
didn't SU dash.
you wrote DSCLI using GNUstep Foundation?
Yes.
Ah, cool. Okay.
And then I could like set a password for the user. And then when I do that, then it would add the encrypted hash here, users plist. Now, none of this is technically sent over the network in the way NIS would,
Mm-hmm.
because
By the way, I have a question. Do you use Gershwin
because
as your daily driver at all, to some degree?
on my ThinkPad especially, for I can't really do Jitsi or anything on that, so I have to use this to show things. But yes,
Ah, cool. That's good. I mean, I do use the desktop the very basic desktop that I use, Window Maker and stuff like that as my daily driver on my Linux machine. So it helps. It helps to make things more complete. Very cool. Very, very
so
cool.
yeah, this is all just mounted versus just sending broadcasts and things. It's just mounting. If the thing is there, the service sees it. It uses the modules to do things,
Mm-hmm.
and it also so I've got this system here, and this was the network user, and then so I'm seeing I just all these applications I've installed that were the wrappers I was showing you.
Mm-hmm.
They're just running. I mean, they're just stored on that 2 terabyte system.
Right.
And
Gotcha.
these are actually real hardware systems that I also use. So this is the Mac Mini. I've got an i7 Mac Mini. I've got an HDMI switch on my desktop that I can switch over to it instead of being on the Mac. Once I get things a little further with audio, I'll be using this to do the meetings.
Mm.
But gotta um, get some things working with Apulse and stuff like that to be able to use. Some browsers and stuff don't allow ALSA to work, and I didn't really want to pull in Pulse audio and stuff. I'm trying to run a very minimal stack because, as Probona said, we're trying to make lighter and lighter systems to make it work with, make it more broadly compatible and more agnostic.
Nice.
But yeah, so this is real hardware, shows serial, all that stuff, and I got another real system I'll show in a minute. This is my AMD 64 with bigger, newer setup. But so yeah, there's some apps running there, and then some real GNUstep apps under network applications that I put there. And then I have been digging in more to try to figure out which GNUstep apps and gap and et cetera are still not working and why. And so yeah, daily driving has been uncovering a lot of things.
Oh yeah, no,
And
and that's that's great. That's what eating our own dog food does, because
And then, like, if I want to change the host name here, you see it shows no apply, but
yeah. Now that you
but then if
change it,
I
right?
yep, and if the user account has no password, this won't even appear. But if it does have a password, that it would prompt to authenticate to make the change. I could probably use the module more to not have to enter anything at all, really. But yeah, that's some of the stuff I've been doing. And then I polished this. This would used to lock up earlier this month when I would just cycle through things really fast and just go through the preferences over and over. I found a bug doing that daily driving because I was working on displays and I was working on sound and all these different things. And I fixed all that stuff, so this is really stable now. And then I was explaining I added hot plug display, and there's still more to do, but it can like save settings now. Oh, what else did I want to show pro bono that, yeah, we'll probably see here that we missed. Let me get out of this and go back. So this has a bug. I can't mount the Squash FS images over the network thing, and I think it's either NFS flags or I need to bump the NFS version to v4, or it's a workspace bug. I need to investigate it, but so I can't. I'm clicking this, it does nothing on this system, or I've missed the Squash FS package, which I had a lot of difficulty figuring out which packages it was to get that working. But um, I'll look at that later and get that fixed. But here's the actual server I'm connected to now.
Mm-hmm.
And if I go to like about this computer, you can see it's the AMD Ryzen 5600 6 core 32 gig and Asus. And anyway, so this is the other bug I need to fix, because when the library is generated as the user logs in to Workspace, the paths are different, so that those little shelf shortcuts go away. So I need to look at that. But then the other thing was going to local users. Oh, and you can see Jay Smith is there now.
Mm-hmm.
And then and go into like, I'll pick an actual working one here. I think Inkscape worked. So I double click that, and then there's Inkscape, and then I can just double click that, run it directly inside the bundle now. That didn't work at first. And this one's got some double minis. I got to figure that out, but I made an overlays thing for the package wrap thing I've been working on to try to inject settings to make things behave better. But let's see. Why is that another compositor bug? Maybe. Oh. But anyway, I made this little package wrap tool, and I could do like package wrap. Wish I could think of something smaller. XPDF. And then it just pulls from the app repos and just assembles everything into a bundle. I guess while that's running, I could show a bundle. Well, I guess we don't have the thing that macOS does to show it that way. All right, so
Right.
Let's see. I go to shell applications, Chromium web browser. Oh, and pro bono. This is my more sane ZSH profile. So it shows the full path as you navigate into the directory, and it doesn't prompt about ZSHRC not existing. But it has autocomplete and stuff. And anyway, inside contents is where you would have, user. So everything that this, that this root build is doing, it's putting it inside contents. And then you have all your lib stuff, all your Etsy stuff, all your user stuff. And then at the top level here, you've got the launcher. And it's just set certain environment variables, things that would need automatically up. Window manager crashed. Sorry. And it's especially bad because I'm running in compositing because I'm trying to work out the bugs with that. But so yeah, we got the double menu thing back, which is
This just means our menu has crashed, and then it's showing
Yep.
the regular menus again. By the way, you should be able to say open in window if you click on an app bundle in Workspace. Then it should open it and show the contents from the file menu.
open as folder.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was there. Oh, and then pro
Probably.
bono, I did fix this. If you notice, I'm not holding down the mouse button anymore for right click.
Oh, cool.
And,
Very cool.
and then I fixed it here too. Thank you for that. I didn't know that shortcut was there. I was just expecting it on right click, I think. And I found another bug when you get info. Oh, now it works. Now it wants to show the actual size of the app. It was showing 1.7 terabyte on Chrome earlier, which was way wrong. But yeah, I want to beat up app image and all the native GNUstep apps some more, and get all the kinks integrated, worked out so that things just run better. I think that's all to go over. Oh, here XPDF is done, so we can go to J Maloney XPDF. Then see it just creates a XPDF thing there, and you can launch it there. And of course, menus crashed. I forgot about that, but you could right-click eject. Pro bono already knew about all this, and then everything is going into volumes here. So if you Ardor, see it makes an Ardor folder automatically. I did a sticky bit thing so that users can create the folders in there, but they can't destroy the volumes folder. They can manage their own folders. And that's another thing that DFCLI does. It sets up /volumes with the proper permissions for all users. And then local applications and the plist and all the groups and all the things. And then we have a thing called system prepare that we run after doing Gershwin build that will set up login window and all those things and runs DSCLI in it as well. So if you go to Gershwin build on GitHub and you just grab the source and make install, and then you run the system prepare script, you could reboot and then you can log in as an admin user, no password, and set a password from there and make more users. So, but I think that's pretty much it to show for now. Unless Pro Bono, did you want me to show anything else or go over anything else?
If you like, we could have a short look at the assistants.
I think I have just these two. Oh, okay. Create media assistants.
I'm not sure whether we had shown that before. Basically, on the Mac, you have these assistants that guide a user through a series of steps. For example, for installing something, configuring something, creating a live medium, and so on. And we have written a little framework for that should make it easier to create additional new assistants. And the first ones we have done is one for creating live systems, so burning live USBs, and another one for installing the system.
Oh, so a full system installer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
He fixed this. I know earlier I saw the commit go in, but it's in German. But if you're in English with the new build, this should show in English. And then
turns out, of course, English was there the whole time, but somehow the merge of the different languages didn't happen correctly, and so German always overwrites everything. So there is a PR for that now.
For some reason, I know that works because I just pulled it up the other day. Let me try the other system. And I will say that things tend to be a lot more stable as well when I'm not going through exporting. So a lot of the crashing you're seeing here wouldn't happen nearly as much. It's only happening because I'm using exporting to show this. So it kind of looks worse than the experiences on real hardware. And I know this worked too, so I'm not sure what's going on. I'm going to try to get DNC set up as well before the next call, so that maybe I have less issues showing this, or if I can get my audio setup working on the Mac Mini here, then I'll join and share from that.
Yeah, so the main instabilities I think right now are in the experimental X11 compositor, which is very rough around the edges and needs still a lot of work. And also, I think menu is not 100% there yet. There, I also observe some crazy edge cases here and there. So that is the focus going forward, to get these things working all the time.
You see this pro bono as I'm typing sudo nan. It suggests system library scripts GNUstep. I can press right arrow.
That's useful.
That's what I mean. It's like a huge time saver with the ZSH profile.
Are you? I mean, is that something in your ZSH profile that's making those suggestions?
I don't have this as part of Gershwin by default yet, but I was trying to make a really useful, but also really non. I don't know what's the right word is. That doesn't throw.
Frightening. No, I mean, I have to be honest here. I'm the one always saying, well, people just know Bash, and everything that is different is unknown and hence feels a bit alien. But I'm sure that Joe can come up with a configuration that is friendly also for
So, for example, in most people's ZSH, it doesn't show the path of the directory that you're currently in. And I don't like that either. So like I've tweaked this profile a lot so that it shows, folders as you traverse them. So like I'm going into things, so it shows all the different paths as you traverse. Versus the default ZSH would be like DLS, and that doesn't really tell me what folder I'm in. That's confusing. So I fixed stuff like that, and then I've just enabled like autocomplete and ZSHRC. And then another thing that ZSH does is it prompts users to create .zshrc files if they don't have one. And I've turned a lot of that stuff off and customized the ZSH profile. But I did, after I get this baked a little bit more, I would like to make it the default for new Gershwin users, maybe after Pro Bono tries it and gives feedback.
Oh, okay.
Because, for example, on this system here, the default shell is awful. Like if you try to type CD space, if you try to actually back arrow after you type something, I think it's Bash or some weird shell that Debian-based distros use. It just deletes the whole thing. I don't know how to explain it, but it's the default SH is let me see. See, like there's me trying to tab to autocomplete, and like, what the heck is that? Or like if I try to, there's me trying to arrow and go back, it creates that. Like, I find that default shell awful. But Bash is tolerable. I can switch to Bash, and it's a little more sane. But so first from terminal, then I could arrow back. That's what I expect when I arrow. and the default shell doesn't do that. So I thought about like kind of standardizing everything on ZSH and making something very friendly and familiar at the same time, to where it's not a total shock, with D/L/S for the path shown down here, or annoying .zshrc pop-ups every time you log in.
Indeed.
And
would-
what else? There was something else to show. Oh, I turned off compositing on this one real quick. We'll see if it's a little more stable. But one last thing I wanted to show is the Gershwin. Every Gershwin ISO we have on GitHub now creates /developer, which is the sources. Has the README, the top level makefile, and then you go here and you can see all the requirements files for all the different OS variants that we're supporting. And you'll see like Arctics is a symlink of Arch, and then Manjaro is a symlink of Arch. So it's the same requirements for all three. And then like we can have little patches here if we need to hot patch something until we can get it fixed in GNUstep. In this case, I've got one for like libdispatch I need to upstream. And then got like our scripts here for bootstrapping, checking out sources, system that's the top. That's the kind of the master install script, and then all the different repos get put here. And eventually, we want to do some more cool stuff with this, where maybe we can have some kind of integration within the GUI for building and rebuilding and things. And then what else was I going to show? One more thing.
Wait, is that a script system for basically installing Gershwin on different operating systems?
Yep.
Similar to the scripts that I'm writing for GNUstep itself. Interesting. Maybe I could take some inspiration from you guys. That's something to think about.
I think something here like I thought was definitely a good idea. I think Pro Bono or somebody came up with it, was the symlink like Arch, if you want to support Manjaro and different variants, and they all use the same packages anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and I imagine what Dev1 is linked to Debian.
Yes, because it's just Debian without systemd, and you can use OpenRC or
right,
sysv in it.
Hold
and GhostBSD is just FreeBSD, etc.
Twilight has a question. It says Joe Maloney, cool that you have similar functionality to the OS 10 third-party utility menu meters, that you would show the CPU and RAM usage on the right side of the system menu bar. It also showed traffic and disk writes, if I remember. And he gives a link to menu meters. Interesting.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting.
Pro Bono actually did this, but yeah, I think we'd like to fill that in with some other useful options.
Oh, definitely, right. That is mainly for to see really what the CPU and memory is doing during development. But I could totally imagine to extend that with network information, maybe temperatures and stuff like that as well. So yeah, thanks for the hint.
That's a great suggestion.
So by default, you can do like developer. Wait, let me get developer library scripts, check out .sh. And so if I want to update Gershwin, I could just run that. And then I can run make uninstall and make install and log out and log back in. And then I've got the new build.
And what's really cool about this setup, and I can't stop repeating how cool that is that all of Gershwin is installed within just one directory, /Gershwin. That means if you have messed up during development and your system isn't working properly, you can just really delete that one directory, then go to developer, install it from there again, and you have a new /system and everything is running again.
Yep, I've even just zipped up. I've been doing a thing where I've been doing experiments with a developer, and I'll just make a bunch of experimental changes and tarball it so I can come back to it later, unzip it again, and then continue the work instead of like things I don't really want to commit to get because they're not really fleshed out and they're just experimental. But I don't want to lose the ideas of the work. It's just kind of nice to have everything in a familiar place and be able to just archive things and put them back. But yeah, so it's reinstalling now. It should be done here in a few minutes. I think that's it. Unless you guys had any other things.
Very cool. Very yeah, that's nice. Does Luke ever talk?
Hello. Yes, I'm just dropping in.
Oh, hey Luke, how's it going?
I'm well. I have been busy with a lot of other things, so I don't have anything really to share. But I was just coming to hang out for a little bit. I gotta head out soon.
Yeah, that seems to be a common theme this month. Everybody's kind of getting hit by the beginning of summer. Me too. Pro bono said something about it as well. Yeah, I guess it's just that early or late spring thing that happens. Anyway,
Yeah, I'm hoping to get to some stuff soon. I just had to take care of other things, and there's a lot of stuff with work. But I'm hoping in the next few weeks to get back at it.
cool. Okay.
I even have that problem, and especially later in the summer, I'll be gone more and doing less, and then the winter time is like my biggest blast of do as much as I can.
I mean that's pretty much the same with me too. It's like because during the winter I'm more or less isolated, so I I can get more done, which is I guess understandable. Um, so yeah, let me think. Yeah, Twilight says thanks for the demo. Great work, guys.
Thank you.
Agreed. Very cool, Joe. Sorry to put you on the spot so much this time around.
No, I enjoy it, and I don't mind. I mean, the more I show things that, and maybe a different pattern, I uncover more things to fix.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Definitely hear you. Let me see. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I mean, is if anybody doesn't have if nobody has anything else to show, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to really end things early, but I guess maybe we could talk about future plans with respect to, I guess, new features, Swift integration, stuff like that. I mean,
Well,
things.
on that topic, I've been toying with the idea of making a display server that's not a Wayland compositor, but like uses some of the same mechanisms, like using KMS and stuff, and
Mhm.
EGL, and maybe lib input for lib input and things like that until I come up with something else. But then back to the libs opal thing we were talking about, and using core animation and what's the other one, quartz core and things like that, and like uh, pulling away from Caro more, and like making even more, what's the right word, like self-contained than like pulling in third-party dependencies.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, well, you do know that Opal uses Cairo as well.
It does, yes, I learned that. And then I've been researching about Cairo, and that uses Pixman or something, I think, itself for the math.
It does. It does, as far as I remember. Yeah, it uses that library to do a lot of the grunt work with respect to some of the vector like drawing and stuff like that.
And I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, but I kind of like that the Opal backend mapped those functions to like CA layer and then compatible Mac OS APIs because I think that would make porting drastically easier.
Oh, it
Or
does. That yes, that was the whole point. That was the whole point of the Opal backend. I mean, it was to introduce the idea of layers and stuff like that, so that we didn't have to, um, you know, I mean, one of the things actually, it's interesting that this kind of gives us a different segue. One thing that I have been thinking about is that there are certain layers of Mac OS 10 stuff that we absolutely need, um, you know, on a regular basis now that we didn't really need before. And one of those things is Core Foundation, and of course, another is of course Core Graphics, because of the
right.
fact that it seems. I mean, up until now they've been relatively optional because due to GNUstep's sort of like OpenStep roots,
Mhm.
we focus on Foundation and AppKit. So
Right. Don't you have some of that stuff in libs core base? Because I just learned the other day that it had CF run loop, and that was something I needed for Ladybird, and didn't think that was part of the core libs at all.
yeah,
Um,
I have noticed that Richard has been pulling in like various things that he needs, um, as he needs them into libs base, and I think that's a good thing because
so,
hmm?
what is the difference between libs base and libs core base? Because I needed libs core base to make Opal work, and that's where I found out that CF run loop was a thing, and I don't think it was a thing in libs base.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean I've noticed that he has. I mean I don't think he's pulled in the run loop into libs base, but I think he's pulled other core functionality. I mean, core foundation functionality into it. The difference
Right.
is that lib's core base is the core foundation stuff.
Okay.
You know,
So it's not like an older version of lose base. It's more like a core foundation port that adds the additional things.
yes, that's correct.
Okay, good to know. I thought that's what it might have been. I just wanted to confirm that.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Core Foundation is pure C, isn't it?
huh?
Core Foundation is pure C, isn't it?
It is.
Foundation is Objective C, and Core Foundation is C. That's, as far as I remember, the main distinction.
Yeah, I
Ah,
mean, but core the interesting caveat is that core foundation and certain types in core foundation and foundation are what they call toll-free bridged, so that you don't have to do explicit conversion between them; they just work. I think this includes like strings, dictionary, arrays, various other things. Um, you know, and I think we have that functionality in lib's core base. But the way we do it is a little bit is not. I don't know if we're doing it the right way. It works, but you know, it seems like one of the things that we need to consider is the fact that when Apple took over from and redid things over top of the next frameworks, they actually pulled out a lot of this functionality and made Core Foundation and Core Graphics. So I'm wondering whether or not we need to do the same thing on some level because of the fact that it seems like without those that functionality, without those layers, we're we're not we're not 100% compatible. Um, because quite frequently what I have to do, not a lot, but occasionally, is like for instance with the emulator that I wrote. When I wrote it, I wrote it using the graphics part. I originally just sort of absentmindedly used layers, and I didn't, I didn't. I was like, when I started trying to build it for GNUstep, I realized that I needed to take some of that code out. So as a result, we're 99% there. We're like 98% compatible, 99% compatible. We don't have that last 1%. And I think, you know, we kind of need to do some of that. Maybe, I don't know. Um, just a thought. It was just something I was thinking about. But yeah, um, but yeah, I mean, core. I mean, libs opal and libs core base kind of fill that gap, Joe. So, um, I think further work on libs opal would be useful. Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
then I don't think there's probably, it might not even really be needed, but core audio, I guess, is the closest thing to that would be like SoundKit.
Hmm.
Is that pretty much compatible with core audio, or is it more like compatible with what Next had for audio APIs?
Oh no. There is a library called SND Kit, which is similar
Right.
to what what Next used to have. Um, Core Audio, or I think I started it. It was called Audio Toolbox, which I never really finished. Um, those are the bits that have the main audio functionality for that mirrors what's on the Mac. Um, so yeah.
And I noticed, yeah, there was like an old core image repo, I think that was stubbed or something that you might have started,
No, I didn't start that one.
or somebody did.
I think it was started by I don't know. I don't know who started that one. I think that might have been Ivan. I'm not sure.
Okay. I probably just saw you updated or something when I was looking around at other lives, but
Yeah, I tend to have a lot of ADHD, so I go into things and fix it. Just if it's not building. Let me think. Uh, yeah, I don't. I mean, I can't really think of anything else at this point, other than the stuff that we just talked about with respect to Opal and Swift. Early, we talked about Swift a little earlier. I'm not sure if Pro Bono was here. Um,
I did get pretty far with bringing Liv's Opal up to date with the X11 server.
oh,
It's
really?
mostly functioning. I've got There are some glitches, some annoying glitches to fix, like font rendering and stuff like that I haven't figured out. But this is where like the CPU area that was shown earlier will be like double layered, and it'll just look like as it updates, it's just kind of hard to read. But other than a few little things like that, it's mostly working. And then um, as far as trying to make a separate, instead of Wayland X11 DRM interface, so I could just use KMS and EGL. I've got apps drawing on the screen, but I can't move them yet. The input part doesn't. I can move the mouse, but I can't like make the input work.
Right.
But
Oh, by the way, let's see. Gosh, I need to read a lot of what Twilight said. Um, Let me see. He said, Greg, your mention of the emulator reminded me of an old programming contest for Cocoa developers from the mid aughts. It says, Iron Coder. He says, I wrote a pseudo emulator, Core Wars, um, red code interpreter, as a contest entry. Iron Coder was a Cocoa specific contest that would take place over a weekend, a bit like Demo Scene. It was based on Iron Chef. Interesting. Where you would get a theme and a required ingredient, Cocoa framework or API. Maybe we could do something similar for GNUstep's anniversary. Actually, that's very interesting. Um, when is GNUstep's anniversary? Um, I'll have to look. I think Lars, were you the one that found that?
I was muted, sorry. There is an anniversary sometime at the start of May, if I remember correctly. I wrote a mail about it. Let me see.
Okay. He says it might be a way to spark some new apps. My Crepuscular Life Mac screensaver started off as an iron coder demo. You know what? I'm going to take a look at that.
GNUstep anniversary. Let me see.
Oh, it's Conway's a finite automaton. Like,
May 11.
okay. And he gives a link to Iron Coder on the web archive. Interesting. You know what? Yeah, that's not a bad idea. We'll think about that.
I just posted the source for the anniversary in the chat. It's some GNUstepmade.com guides history.
Yeah, okay, I got you. Yeah, we will definitely have to do something.
I tried to contact the editorial staff of the German IT news site heise.de, but they didn't come back to me at all. They seem to be not interested in this topic. Somebody else proposed on the list some OS News article, but nothing came out of it in the end until now. Maybe you have to prepare something more official. I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah, I'd forgotten about OS News. That was my other favorite website way back when.
And then again, we should have a release when around the spring.
Yeah.
We usually had every year.
Yeah, I think we need to I think I need to talk to Fred and Richard about that.
Sadly, both are not here today.
Mm-hmm.
What were your other thoughts on Swift, Greg? Like you were going to say something around that before I rudely interrupted about Opal.
Oh, no problem. No, I was wondering if Pro Bono was here when we discussed it, because there were some stirrings on the Swift mailing list about GNUstep integration Pro Bono. I don't know if you noticed that, and I just wondered if you had any thoughts.
Yeah, I missed the first part, unfortunately, due to the time zone hiccups. Entirely my fault. I will follow up. I will catch up. I guess this is recorded, and then I will follow up on it.
Oh,
It's
okay.
very interesting topic. I heard people say, yeah, interesting project with a Gershwin, but as long as it is requiring Objective-C, we will stay away from it. So maybe this is a sentiment that is also affecting GNUstep on a larger scale.
Yeah.
So
I really think you're right. I don't know what the aversion is to Objective-C. I've always loved Objective-C.
People claim about the ugliness of the square brackets. I don't get this because I don't ugly, but that's the usual thing you hear. If you ask, what don't you like about Objective-C? Is it features? Is it something serious? No, it's square
Oh,
brackets.
I don't like the square brackets.
Well,
I've heard that so many times. It's not even funny. I'm like, if that bothers you, get the hell out of programming.
I personally find it much more friendly than like Qt. And I can kind of understand because for the longest time, all I really knew was shell programming and a little bit of Python.
Hmm.
And I knew how to modify C++ programs, but I didn't really know how to write something from scratch. And so coming from that world, I can kind of understand someone, because if you know Python, Swift almost works the same way, but it's compiled. So I can kind of understand the barrier to entry is a lot easier for people who are not vibing actually want to learn programming.
Right. Well, I mean, one of the things I think it's all about unfamiliar syntax because a lot of, I mean, C and C++ really kind of established the entire, syntax that we use today with respect to function calls and, the dot syntax and stuff like that. And, forgetting members and, people are just not used to using something different. I mean, if you really want something super different, try Prolog or Lisp. I mean, it's wild to me that makes that much of a difference. Um, but it is what it is. Um,
Yeah, there are probably some things I don't like about it. It's a very, very large footprint. Like, it's like 2 GB worth of libraries and compilers and things on a system and building Swift C, for example, is like building WebKit almost
yeah.
compared to like building Clang. You can build Clang on a low end laptop under an hour, easy. But like try
That's
to go build
more
Swift C, it's massive. It's like building Rust or building
Oh wow.
WebKit. So I mean, and then like you look at the footprint of what Gershwin is now, it's like 30 megabytes for the whole system.
Mm.
When you compare, like if I pulled in Swift, because I had experimented with um, before Pro Bono had joined us, I had experimented with pulling in Swift, and I couldn't make. I mean, there is no runtime package for Linux or anything else. I believe I could make one and a couple hundred megabytes, but that's still a much bigger footprint than GNUstep ever would be. And I think the thing that I find more appealing about GNUstep is just how small that footprint is, how fast it can compile on lower end systems, and how optimized it is, so that when you get to higher end systems, you're not like sucking up tons of resources, and just a bigger potential to be more efficient than what people call modern software isn't necessarily better. If your browser tab consumes half a gigabyte of RAM, that's ridiculous.
I totally agree. By the way, there was recently someone who ported macOS 10.0, I think it was, to the Nintendo Wii, which is running on a mere, I think, 70 something megabytes of RAM. Megabytes. 70 something,
Right.
not even 128. And I mean, if they could do it back in the time, why does everything need to be so huge these days? Especially given RAM prices and everything, I think there is a lot of value in trying to make systems run on the smallest possible systems, and that also helps them run fast on the largest possible systems.
Right.
So the downside is, larger footprint, increased requirements, etc. It is a very easy, intuitive language to learn. I definitely enjoy writing in it. And out of the programs I made, like the little XFleet app I made that I was showing off earlier to connect the X11 sessions. Uh, very, very easy to write and put something together with quickly. But the disadvantage is the resource consumption. Um, you know, the time to bootstrap the whole thing, and you pretty much have to have like a massive builder to build it efficiently. You can't just build it on your laptop. You can't just build it on a regular desktop. Like you have to have something pretty powerful, or you're going to be waiting 12 hours, and that to me is not um, not ideal. And the other thing was, while it's easier for people as a barrier of entry, with most people now moving towards vibe coding and AI anyway, I don't get the big hangup is like, you could use Claude and have a team of engineers and write something great in Objective C. I don't see why the language is going to matter that much.
Right. Twilight says regarding brackets from Dr. Radcox, one of the creators of Objective-C, quote, when programmers saw brackets, they couldn't instantly recognize that an object was being sent a message developer is responsible for the larger design of an application would work mostly within the brackets. I remember that comment in that book, and I agree with it. I think it's useful to have sort of a hard syntactic line between objects and structures and stuff like that. And that's kind of why I like it, because it makes it easier to tell the difference. Um, but yeah, some people don't like it so much. Some people like the confusion. I mean, the thing I loved about Objective C was the fact that the syntax is very minimal and it's to the point, and it doesn't reuse any existing concepts from C or C++. For instance, it's not reusing, it's not overloading the meaning of the dot syntax or anything else. It's very explicit, but
Maybe
like,
maybe a better way to put what I'm saying too is like, you know, 5 years ago when there was no AI and there was no Claude Cowork and all these different tools,
mhm,
like I think the language would have mattered a lot more than as far as having something like Swift that's easy to understand, like Python, and innovating in that way and making declarative solutions. But you know, in 20 years from now, are people not seeing the big picture that AI might be writing everything in assembly for us, and we might not even know what the code is?
right. Well, I mean, one of the things to remember about AI is it's very good at typing. It's not very good at thinking. It does. I have experimented with it, a lot, both at work and sometimes with GNUstep. As you guys may have noticed, with respect to the discussion that Fred and I had 2 meetings ago. Um, it makes mistakes, and it's not perfect. And sometimes the logic that it comes up with is rather convoluted. So it's better. I mean, I think it's always going to be. I mean, it's always a mistake to underestimate the usefulness or future functionality of any technology. So you know, I think it's
Yeah,
going to
just
get better as we go on.
I'm thinking about that perspective, but I'm also thinking about like I'm hearing there's shortages of people going into computer science anymore because everyone's scared about AI and stuff. And like if that starts to trickle off new programmers learning these new languages, then maybe in 5 years from now, what Swift is doesn't matter. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like maybe um, everyone made this big push to make programming easier, programming easier, programming easier, but maybe in 5 years that doesn't matter if there's less and less programmers and it's really just more operators.
Yeah, true. Very
I don't
true.
know. I mean, that's probably being too dramatic about it, but I don't I think on one hand it is a good solution, but I also think like what happens if there's all this push to get there to make it all work and then it doesn't matter in the end. Because like I don't think people think enough about the bigger picture and obsolescence. Like it's like when I started out, I did computer repair for almost 10 years, and that's not a thing anymore because people, don't use computers the way they did, and it's not a profitable thing. Technology makes things obsolete over time, and I could see maybe Swift being one of those things. I don't know.
Right. All right, guys. Well, I'm not sure if we have a lot more to talk about, but
Greg, one question, please.
sure.
Do you think you will find time again to work on the scripts?
Um,
It would be really great to have those because I have seen from time to time more and more reports of problems with some script
yeah, and
in Reddit or some places like this. They say they tried a script and it didn't work and something like that.
Yeah. Let me ask Joe a question. Is your are the scripts that you wrote for building Gershwin, are they in your repository?
Yeah, they're just in the Gershwin developer repository.
Is that's on GitHub, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? I think I'll take some inspiration from those. And let's see. Probably not this weekend, Lars, because I do have.
It's urgent anyway,
Huh?
but some when I ask it so many times now,
I know. I
I
understand.
couldn't find sometimes.
Unfortunately, what's happened is lately my work with PennDOT has took a huge chunk of my time lately because of the fact that I was working on re-implementing they have a nightly job that runs that pulls in points of interest, uh, that I was trying to rebuild in C sharp for them because of the fact that everything that they're a Microsoft shop there, so everything is done in C sharp with PennDOT. Um, if any of you have C sharp experience and wouldn't mind working for the state of Pennsylvania, send me your resume. Um,
Okay.
but
At least then what Fred has, he has to do PHP.
uh,
So sorry for him.
yeah, no, no, C sharp is actually a great language. It's kind of like a better version of Java. But okay, I was trying to get that working, and it was taking up a huge amount of my time. Ended up actually implementing it so that it's, believe it or not, 50 times faster than their old solution. So it was worth it. Um, so yeah, I that was taking up a lot of my time lately. That's one of the reasons why I haven't done a lot on GNUstep, because I was deeply like embroiled in that, because it was either finish it or or else, and I didn't want to choose or else. So you know kind of had to get that done. So yeah, I mean, now that I'm done with that, I have a little bit more free time on my hands. So I think I'm going to take a look at Joe's stuff for Gershwin and see whether or not I can take some inspiration from that, because
Great,
it looks pretty good.
great idea.
Hmm?
Can I ask one more question before we get off?
Sure, sure, sure.
I was looking at this GNU Step history thing too. That's cool. I didn't even know that was a thing. But is so GNU Step started in like the late '90s, like after Next
Yep,
was
We started
Richard
before OpenStack
Richard
was.
Richard was one of the first contributors.
Richard Frith McDonald. Yep. Hmm.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, GNUstep is very old. One of the things that people forget is that GNUstep had done a lot of things, like like for instance AutoGS doc, to some degree was is contemporary with Java doc when it was created, and that's why it works the way it does. And when people ask, well, why don't you just use Doxygen? It's because AutoGS doc was created before Doxygen and stuff like that. So
Okay.
we had our own documentation standards before any of that existed. And various other things. I mean, GNUstep and a lot of things. GNUstep was actually quite early, but which is why we do things differently in a lot of different in a lot of ways. Um, so yeah, it's definitely a thing. I mean, GNUstep has a pretty long history, surprisingly long actually. So yeah.
And there's another thing I want to ask. I found some strange behaviors or bugs in Gorm. I'm not sure if it's a platform problem, like because I'm running on ARM 64,
Hmm.
or if it's some whatever stuff.
Did you
I
add
report,
bugs?
I reported those and didn't get any reaction as of yet.
Yeah, same problem. I've been real busy with work. But it's time for me to circle back on some of these things. because yeah, I've work and other things have taken up my time.
Okay.
So yeah, but yeah, I'll definitely take a look at it. You said ARM 64?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a machine. I have well, I have my
Raspberry Pi, which should probably do. I have no idea.
yeah, I don't have a machine, an ARM 64 Linux machine. I have my Mac. But I guess I could use UTM to run an instance of ARM 64 Linux.
Exactly. That's
Okay,
what I'm doing. I can show it to you if you want to see it live.
sure. Do you want to do it here? Or do you want to do it off?
I
I mean, at a later time.
can do it now. Let me
Sure,
see.
sure, sure,
Share
sure.
the screen.
Yep.
So where's Gorm?
Uh, user GNUstep.
Yeah, there's somewhere. Applications.
There we
Gorm
go.
app. 1, 2, 3.
That's an installation problem, Lars.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
that you
I
I add,
use
I
I
added
use I use
what? Wait.
I use
Uh,
sorry. I use the scripts to install it.
Still an installation problem. Because
Yeah,
those palettes are definitely built and installed without a doubt.
maybe they are somehow couldn't not loadable. Like if Gorm runs now, yeah,
Well,
and I
why wouldn't they be loadable? That's weird.
don't know because some
Can you
bug
all right? Can you check something for me?
recent. Look at this one.
Yeah, sure.
Now this now loads, but it didn't before. What was the other one?
Okay.
I guess this failed. If I'm right. Yeah, exactly. Failed to load
Yeah.
exception
Okay.
and char and got object.
This is an encoding problem. That's a libs GUI issue. It's still a problem though, because yeah, what's very likely happening is there might be something with encoding with how we're doing encoding in whatever object. I'll have
What
to
happened?
figure out what it is.
We had it already something similar before, if I remember correctly.
Hmm?
And you already fixed those issues in the past somewhere. You already had those before
Yeah.
somewhere in some
Well,
years ago.
I mean, it could be one of two things. Either because Gorm has some encoded. I mean, some like when it saves a Gorm package, it has like a couple of different um, files that it creates that provide metadata. So it could be encoding in one of those that's failing, or it could be encoding in GUI. So I'll have to figure out which. But can you check something? Go to libraries or go to library.
Slash library.
Yeah, system library. System library. Okay, can you step system library?
Library, yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
there we go. Go to let me see. Well,
Tools.
let me see. Where would it be? Would it be? Oh no, it would be in the application folder. Go back to applications. Sorry about that. Click on Gorm.
Okay.
Open it as a folder. Okay. Go to resources. Okay. Toolbar. Go down. You were right. It is a loading problem.
This
Toolbar,
one
yeah, toolbar, and yeah. Can you open that as a
is a Gorm.
No, open it as a folder. Okay. Wonder what's going on here. Yeah, because let me show you. Well, I'll do the same thing on mine. Let's see. Have you ever been able to use the toolbar or formatter palettes? Either one of those?
Oh, I have no idea because I just wanted to open this Gorm file to look inside it because of some translation issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I just couldn't open it. I didn't. Other Gorm files are possible to open, but I never used it actively in development to create some GUI stuff or so. I just used it as an inspector for several things I wanted to know.
Okay. All right. Well, let me steal your screen share here real quick. I'm going to show you that it does work on um, on Intel. I don't know
Last
why.
time I tried, sorry.
Huh?
Last time I tried, this was also on Intel, but this years ago.
Okay.
So on Intel it works, I know.
Well, I mean the toolbar palette and the toolbar and the other palette. Can you guys see my screen? Am I sharing? Yes, I am. These are two things that I added within the last year. So, let's see. So yeah, I mean they're right here. See it
Yeah.
right there, right there. Yeah, I mean the toolbar works fine for me. So I'm not sure what's going on here with ARM. I will try it on my. I believe I have a Linux instance on UTM. I'm not sure. I might have deleted it. That's why I said I wasn't sure if I had one earlier. But if I do, I will go ahead. I mean, sorry, if I don't, I'll create one. If I do, I'll build and run Gorm on it and see if whether or not I can recreate your issue, because
Are
that's
you
very
building?
strange to me.
Are you building yours with Clang?
Yes.
I mean, Lars.
Yeah, it was Clang. I used the scripts from Gregory.
Have you tried building it directly with? I mean, it shouldn't matter. I mean, it should just all it's doing is doing make.
Yeah,
It's not.
make
It's
that.
not doing. It's not doing anything special. It's not. It's not directly invoking Clang or anything like that. It's using the existing build system and running make install, and that's it. That's all it's doing.
Hmm.
So it shouldn't be any different. I mean, so if I sound a little annoyed, I'm not annoyed at you, Lars. I'm annoyed at myself. I don't know why it's not working, which is kind of irking me a little. Um, hmm.
But to be able to reproduce it, you should know what I used. Yeah, would be good.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, I need to know that because I need to figure out what's wrong. And
Yeah, I know. I think I used Clang, or Clang was used, and I never really checked for it because building is running that fast on the machine that I can't read anything. Not scrolling by.
hmm.
And I used the scripts of you.
Yeah.
This curl HTTPS, raw
Mhm.
GitHub user content, GNUstep tools scripts master, GNUstep web install def piped into bash.
Mhm.
And this works fine so far. Sometimes I have to restart it after installing the dependencies because after installing the dependencies, it sometimes stops
Mhm.
for unknown reason. I'm doing this on Ubuntu.
Now that you say this, I'm thinking back. I have seen weird memory trampling issues with like libobjective-C on ARM. And you mentioned random build failures and stuff like that. I wonder if
No,
there might be.
the script has a phase where it checks out all the repositories, then it installs the dependencies. And after installing the dependencies, the script stops. It doesn't install GNUstep itself.
Okay.
Mm.
There's nothing to do with compile failures or such like this. Not that is not happening.
Maybe it just doesn't do some cleanup on subsequent runs that has to happen before a rebuild would work.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean the whole theory about a partial install, since he showed it, it should actually be working, which is, it should actually be working because they're there. I mean the bundles that he needed that need to be there to load those pallets, they're there, so it should just work. So I'm a little concerned as to why it's not. Because
Twilight asked a question in the chat.
what did he say?
From the history page, there's a specific event being considered the start from what will be counting to the anniversary, and I guess it was the 11th of May in 1996. Where first the term GNUstep was coined.
Yeah, I did see that. I did see that in the history.
I don't know if it's a proper birth date or it's more an inception date. Maybe birth date would be the first commit in our repositories. I have no idea.
Yeah, no, I think 11 May 1991 is probably the best term.
1991, yeah.
It's amazing. It is actually interesting that GNUstep itself predates OpenStep.
I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, OpenStep spec was released in October 1994. So
this
3
would have
years
been
later.
even before GNOME or KDE or anything.
Mhm.
It developed almost parallel with NextStep.
Well, I mean, in fact, Miguel de Icaza, a lot of people don't know, started off on this project.
Right, I've heard that.
Yeah,
Miguel.
yeah, he I still remember his post. It was like, well, you guys aren't moving fast enough, so I'm going to go start my own project. Yeah, the rest is history. Um, for better or for worse. GNUstep was supposed to be the, official development environment of the GNU project, but it never really obviously became that. But oh well, is what it is. Uh,
I guess it's also kind of interesting there that like GNU Herd was also kind of similar to Mac in that it would have used a mock kernel instead of a microkernel or whatever.
well, to some degree, I mean, it was all meant to sort of. I mean, think about it. GNU Herd being mock, GNUstep
Yep.
being a NextStep / OpenStep clone. What were we trying to be? We were trying to more or less be a clone of the next environment. And it's kind of interesting. It would have happened, but
And I think even Apple, the engineers that wrote Next, right, like Avi or whatever, didn't they get, because the mock kernel always mentions the University of Carnegie or something, like that's
Carnegie
where the
Mellon.
tech, right, that's where the technology was derived from. So I wonder like who copied who. Like maybe it actually originated there and Apple just took it and ran with it faster.
Oh no! In fact, that is exactly what happened. They Avi Tavanian started off at Carnegie Mellon. It was a graduate. I think one of like his graduate project or something.
Right.
Mock, and he it it and they adopted it. So what was I going to say? It's funny though. One of the things that Apple has known about GNUstep for a long time, just so you know. Um, and one of the interesting things that's happened in the past, at least, from my point of view, is you know, Gorm obviously was my baby for a while. I mean, Richard Frith McDonald initially started it, but I took it over, and when I did, I started noticing it was interesting that Gorm had bugs that were similar to early, like Interface Builder 3. When Interface Builder 3 came out, they released a bug, sort of like a bug list, and it read almost like the same bug list that I had for Gorm at the time. Because yeah, so it was weird to me because you're right on the wrong you're on the right track when you have the same bugs that of the you know that the you know of the
That the upstream
technology
has.
that you're huh
Yeah, that the thing you're modeling has. Yeah.
yeah, the thing you're modeling your application after. um so yeah, it's just so I think to some degree, lately maybe it's become sort of a symbiotic relationship, because I have no doubt that they do at least look at our code occasionally. um if
It's
for
just, it's kind of funny to me to think about it. Like, yeah, like, so GNUstep, I mean, well, not just GNUstep, but um, prior to Linux, it seemed like the thing was going to be the mock kernel that the herd guys had, and then GNUstep was a thing before GNOME, and then BSD was a thing before Linux, I think, and like um, Apple today like has all these things, a lot of them still, but then like Linux won. Why?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, it's funny when you look at Linux, it's really I'm sorry to say. I mean, obviously it's done better than any project I've ever been on, but
mhm,
it's really a crappy kernel. It's monolithic. It's I mean, all your drivers are built in, whether you need them or not.
mhm,
All of the different parts of the operating system are one big piece and do not fail independently. If the kernel fails, the entire thing fails. You can't
exactly.
you can't. There's no separation of concerns in the sense of where you have a bit that deals with communication, a bit that deals with scheduling, a bit that deals with so on. If one bit crashes, it all goes, like I said before. So I
Right.
mean, Linux is, I mean, it's
And
stable.
you can't really do drivers and user space with Linux like you could with a mock kernel and those benefits where it doesn't bring down the entire system, like you said.
Right, yeah, I
So
mean,
it's funny. Like, one was a better model, like was the more technically correct way to go. Like a lot of these tech stacks, but then Linux just kind of like takes the shortcuts. I mean, I'm not trying to like totally diss Linux by saying all this, but it's just like that. For some reason, people took the less technically correct approach, and ran with it, and that took off in popularity for whatever reason. Versus the technically correct approach, which would have been more work, but it would have paid more dividends.
well, I mean, but that's kind of the lesson. It's that sometimes the technically correct approach doesn't work because it's not about what's technically correct. It's about what's easier for people to access and what's
Mhm.
easier for people to understand and install. And Linux hit that sweet spot. It hit the sweet spot where people could download it, install it, use it, and whatever. And
Right.
and
And like GNOME, it just got people there faster.
yeah, it did, because GNOME took the um, GNOME took the let's blow up the world and re-implement everything approach, and for some reason that was more attractive to people than I mean, because it's always easier to do that than it is to implement an existing spec, and that's what we were doing. And in the sense that we were doing the reason we were doing that is because we wanted it to be compatible across all platforms,
Mhm.
which is slowly proving itself to be the better approach. But because I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed, GNOME is kind of is flailing a bit lately for whatever reason.
Well,
That
there's that, and they keep rewriting their tech stacks, like not just Xorg, but like audio, all these things. Like they have it all solved, and then they're just let's rewrite it again,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
recreate the same bugs that we've already fixed.
Right, exactly, and that's a problem because I mean, and that shows lack of maturity, if you know what I mean, in the sense
Right.
that yeah. So I mean, it's always it's always easier to just blow up the world and redo it again than it is to to follow against an existing spec. And it's not about who's technically correct. And I've always told certain people that it's if if technically like correct and elegant were what made a product better, we'd all be using we'd all be using either Amigas or Next machines or anything like that, and DOS, Windows, and whatever like that would never have been a thing.
Right.
But that's not the way the world works, unfortunately. You know,
True.
we can be idealists in our own time.
Well,
Yeah.
I just had the thought maybe while they're rewriting everything again for the next 4 years, but maybe we can take advantage of this window.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I
Make an
mean,
alternative.
I will, and not to put too much pressure on you, I will say Gershwin is definitely one of the ways we can do that because it's got a lot of that, a lot of that feel that I think we needed like probably about 15 years ago to grab people's attention, and we didn't have it. And Gershwin is very much that it feels like a solid cohesive operating system level, sort of like when I say operating system level, I mean sort of like on the level of Mac OS 10, because you've got the menus and the integration across the whole sort of system that you need in order to make it feel comfortable for a user. I mean, and that shows because
Well, thank
since
you.
you're using
Appreciate
it day
that.
by day, no problem. I mean, you're using it day to day, and that's what's helping it get there. And yeah, so absolutely keep up your up your excellent work. It's awesome.
Yeah,
And
I can't give
Gershwin is
enough
definitely
credit
awesome.
to pro bono as well. I mean, I would never have made the progress I've made without him. So
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's been pretty
kudos
cool.
kudos to both of you, to all of you. I mean, you pro bono, anyone else who's contributed to the project. Yeah, I mean, it's all I have to say is that it's freaking awesome. I want to use another
Thank
word, but since they're transcribing us now, it's kind of I don't necessarily want to use that word.
Right.
Actually, that was a thought that actually crossed my mind. Why didn't anyone do what we are doing now 15 to 20 years ago?
That may be my fault, to be honest with you, pro bono. Um, when I first took over GNUstep, it was 2000. I think it was 2008, and one of the things that I really emphasized was that GNUstep needs to be an API and an API only. An API in the sense that we had all the core applications like Gorm, various other things like that, but we didn't try to create a desktop explicitly. I felt as though because at the time we had Etoile, and David Chisnell was doing that one, and it was a.
I,
Do you remember that?
I I do remember that. Yeah, I was very, very excited about that, and I was so disappointed when it went away.
Yeah,
Yeah, me too. It seems like it wasn't long-lived, right? How long did it exist?
probably about
Since
three
years,
years, 3 to 5 years. What did you say, Lars?
Several years.
Gershwin will make it hopefully longer. Not sure yet, but hopefully. So it's probably all about attracting a certain critical mass, which frankly we haven't achieved yet for Gershwin.
Yeah. Hold on. What did you say, Lars? How long did you say it existed?
I think about 5 years or so, maybe.
Yeah.
It's
And
some slowly rolled out. It never really stopped, but it
well,
slower and slower and slower and slower. And people left, and Google ate them.
okay. And I'll say this. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Some of the people got scooped up by Google, and others like just lost interest. One of the problems that that they had was is that um quite a lot of their stuff was very I think okay. David implemented something called Language Kit and various other things that were, I guess, compiler level stuff. And that, I mean, he used Etoile as kind of a
I
playground
know where
for
you're
him
going.
to create some of this stuff. Yes, yeah, no,
Yeah,
and so it was very idealized. It was a very idealistic
the
desktop.
exact opposite of Gershwin.
And yes, and you guys are why you guys are not trying to reach for that kind of goal. You're not trying to be like, like a modern day small talk or anything like that. You're trying to just be a desktop, and that's not to minimize what you're doing. You're doing, I mean, but it's like you're not overloading the user with some things that they may not necessarily understand.
Mhm.
And that's the problem that Twal had, is that it was trying it had some very, very technically interesting goals, but not necessarily um, applicable to the the everyday user. And
I kind
that's
of saw it later as they tried to make their own core lives too much instead of like using what was upstream and like you know a lot of I've noticed. I mean, looking at the different code bases, for example, they implemented a lot of methods that GNUstep has now, and now they're just the projects are fundamentally incompatible unless you rework them.
yeah. Lars posted their project goals. Um,
And that, I guess, was my goal, not to be a toolkit either, but just to use the existing toolkit versus trying to be the language.
yeah, and in fact, that's the problem that I found with the tool, is that they were trying to be, you know, they were trying to be everything. You know
Well,
what I
it's
mean?
also, and no shade against them because I think what they're doing is awesome. But Raven OS, where they're like now building on Darwin and doing all these things, they're doing the Darwin, they're doing the display server, um, they're doing all these layers themselves versus just trying to use the pieces that are already there.
Right. I mean, sorry, Lars. Raven OS. I know the woman who's working on it, and I mean, I admire her efforts, but I don't know ultimately if it's going to be successful. For her sake, I hope so. But and I don't look on them as a competitor to us, because we are trying to be cross-platform, so that
Right.
the way
I
I've
don't
always
either. I look at it as a completely different thing, but
right
yeah, I know what you're saying.
the way I've always viewed GNUstep and pro bono. This is the reason why I did what I did early on. It's we GNUstep is fulfilling the promise that OpenStep made. OpenStep was supposed to be the same as Java. It's where the sort of the Java thing comes from, where
Exactly.
it was, yeah, it was right at
That's
once. And
that right there is what got me interested in Apple at all. I
mhm,
had never been a fan of anything that Apple had ever done. I mean, I kind of found the early Mac interesting at a later point in life,
yep,
but when they introduced what was going to be Rhapsody, where it would run on like Windows NT and all these other things and all that portability,
mhm.
that's what got me interested. So
Yes.
like seeing GNUstep continue that now is, I think, one of the biggest selling points of it all, compared to
Indeed.
any
Yeah,
other language.
indeed. It's very unfortunate that they killed that thing. I mean, possibly they used it internally to do iTunes for Windows and stuff like that, but it never was seeing the light of day.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
Gearbox.
They still have it, but I think they use it because they used it. I'm sure they use it to build things like, like you said, iTunes for Windows and stuff like that. You can still see it because if you go into the iTunes like executable directory, if you go into the directory that creates it, you can see nib files and various other resources that would normally only be on a Mac. But they're
right.
there because of the fact that they are using internally something that is very much like OpenStep Enterprise. I'm sure, but they just don't release it because they don't want to support it. And
Web Safari for Windows still exists too in the WebKit repo. It's called Mini Browser. A lot of
really,
people don't know that, but it still's there and it still builds.
oh wow,
Great.
crazy work.
Interesting. Maybe we could use the wrapper for GNUstep too.
Hmm?
I've been trying to work on it, but like I said, it's very resource intensive earlier. So like
That would
trying
be
to
a
build
good.
it.
Maybe you should hunt
That
AI on it.
I did, yeah. On my laptop, it was taking like 12 hours in between builds, so I was gonna try. That's one of the reasons I installed the AMD 64 system this weekend after I hooked up my new network switch.
Hmm.
It had been sitting in my closet, and I was gonna repurpose it as a builder for bigger things like that, just to try to get
Right.
it going, and maybe optimize it so it doesn't take 12 hours to compile.
Yeah,
why are all
that's
web
quite a
browsers
while.
so much
Well,
nowadays?
With
I think
all
it's cool that you can play Quake 3 Arena in a web browser, but I really don't need that.
hold on, what were you going to say, Prabona?
Yeah, sorry. Why are all web browsers such a monstrosity these days? I still remember when a web browser was 10 or so, 20 maybe megabytes, and that was it.
Yep.
It should be a document view or not an
Well,
application API.
Oh
it's
hell.
all this. It's all this extra functionality, though. It's like WebGL and things. That's what it is. It's all that extra stuff stacked on top. Because like you could build a Basilisk JavaScript based browser in under an hour on a low spec system.
Hmm.
I would say it's like an OS in the web. In the meanwhile, because of so many functionalities you wouldn't need if you just display documents.
Exactly. That's what it is.
Now
It's all
you
this
need
extra
those
functionality that Apple has for Safari and iOS.
extra layer electron on it, and it hacks resources like a saw. It's not the way to go.
But
Let's say, but too many people don't have the skills to build a GNUstep app. They can do you a React app in half a day, but
I want to see though if I can get WebKit to build cleanly by maybe to investigate its build system a bit more to see if there's a way to turn off all those extra features that
Hmm.
most people don't need and make it build in a more reasonable time.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why browsers have become so um, complicated is because right now it's sort of the primary way people use computers nowadays. Really, I mean, it's just like one of those things that they want to stuff as much functionality into the browsers as possible in order to allow it to run pretty much anything. It's almost a proxy for an operating system. I mean, it actually is. Like you have Chrome
Definitely.
OS,
Yep.
you know. So yeah, that's pretty much why because it's wild. Hmm.
by the way, I like the way the RevenueX website looks. It should be a good example for us. But this is a topic we had already several times.
Yeah, yeah, and so Joe, yeah, to complete my thought, that's why you know GNUstep is the way it is because we just decided not to go there when it came to desktops
I,
because
I kind of still think that was the right decision though, because if you look at like GNOME or KDE, the way they handle their toolkits, they're not agnostic really at all. It's very tied to like KDE with KF6 stuff. You know, uh, it's just not. It doesn't meet the same goals like that Rhapsody had, and I like that GNUstep is carrying that forward. I think that was one of the biggest advantages of it, and I realized why Apple did it, because they needed to sell products and make money and reduce focus. But I think it would have been the technically superior, more interesting way forward and make computers better.
Yeah, I mean, there was, I don't know if it's still there, but on the old website, Adam had put something up when it talking about this, and it was called, he called it the Zen of no UI. And that's kind of why, because it's better to leave it up to people who are implementing the desktop, on how GNUstep looks, feels, and stuff like that, because it makes the goal is to be toolkit. I mean, is to make the toolkit agnostic, so that it
Right.
doesn't care what the ultimate GUI looks like in the end. At the end of the day, people criticize us for having having the next interface, but that's just the default. That's what we did because it was the easiest to do at the time. Um,
Right.
square and gray, and we have theming now. You can replace that. It doesn't matter. So yeah, it's just, yeah, that was why.
Twilight said something interesting.
He says, regarding browsers becoming more popular for app development, that's why I think embedding a GNUstep IDE as an app image that could also export built apps as app images, would be useful. It lowers the bar of entry. You no longer need to have the technical skills or time to figure out how to install the GNUstep frameworks. You can just download and start developing. Yeah, he's not
That's a good
wrong.
idea.
Yeah, he's not wrong. Not at all.
Maybe we could integrate this app image stuff into GNUstep itself, or is this too early?
That I think that would be interesting. I really do. I think that'd be interesting. By the way, one of the things I was thinking about when you guys were talking about memory footprints earlier, I was doing some reading up on the Linux kernel about how it manages memory, and one of the things that I have noticed is that in Linux, any unused memory is considered wasted memory. So it is by definition a memory hog, because what it does is, I mean, what I have noticed over time, whenever I run my main machine. I think I've told you guys about this before, but in case you didn't know, my main machine has 32 gigs of memory. My Linux box, and it has 64 terabytes of hard disk space. It's a beast. But after 3 days, it gets to 98% memory usage. And the reason it does that is because it's trying to cache as much as possible. And I think it does this with respect to, like, if you're running, within individual application spaces, because so it's going to allocate as much memory as possible for each application, and it's going to, and just by definition, inflate the footprint of the application. So our applications may not be as memory hungry as they are on Linux on other platforms. Um, just something to think about in case, in case you're worried about how large our applications are on Linux. I don't know
Wow,
if
I
it's
didn't.
not something to worry about.
I was always wondering, no matter how much RAM you have, it always seems to fill up. Now that explanation makes kind of sense to me.
Yeah, I didn't know that until, I mean, I was like, this. I found this out a couple months ago. I didn't know that until a couple months ago. I was like, what?
I wonder if that's because of the preempt that they added in, or if that's just been a longer term thing.
I think it's a longer term thing. I think it just takes up memory to cache various things in order to make sure that the system runs as fast as possible, which I guess makes sense to me, but it's just an approach that, I mean, it's just something that I didn't expect. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Well, it is 3 o'clock. We are 3 hours in, so I think right now might be a good stopping point. Um, I think our discussion became a lot more interesting near the end. um,
Yeah.
so
Thanks. It was a lot of
that's
fun.
it certainly was. I always enjoy talking to you guys. We don't have to restrict our communications to just once a month. It would be nice to talk to you guys outside of this meeting. But yeah, so I guess I'm hoping next month I'll have more to show you guys because I'm going to be working on, of course, the Gorm bugs and the script things that Lars and I and you talked about, Joe. But yeah, I'm hoping to have a couple of other things that I'm working on. I guess advance a little more. Um,
Oh,
I am working on some other bug fixes, but those are relatively uninteresting. Um, anyway, what were you
just
going
a
to say?
just a quick thought on the installer. I'm not sure how feasible this is, but just a thought that came right now. Would it maybe be feasible if GNUstep uses part of the current Gershwin developer install scripts that we then can remove those parts from Gershwin developer and use the upstream installer for those parts instead?
You
So
know, oh, I'm sorry. Go
when
ahead. Go ahead.
maybe when integrating the new installer scripts, that is maybe a thought that might be helpful as a constraint when designing the new thing. So that ideally we don't need to ship it anymore. And as you know, we want to upstream as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean that's actually not a bad idea. I mean, because let's put it like this: the scripts that I wrote are very much like they were very off the cuff. I was not. In fact, tool script in the GNU-step repository was supposed to be just my little, area where I put scripts that were useful to me and that I hoped would be useful to other people. None of them. I mean, most of them were not written with, you know, I didn't. I hope you understand what I mean. I wasn't sitting there thinking, how can I make this the best possible, like, architected in the best possible way. I just wrote them to get it done at the moment. You know what I mean? And so if, I can revisit some of that and replace it with you guys' approach and, maybe do something a bit more carefully architected, that would be pretty awesome. And and if that takes it off of you guys' hands and makes it easier for you, that would be best. Because
I mean, you will definitely find some areas in the current scripts that don't apply to you, which you would delete in your version. But maybe instead of just deleting them, you could then think about, well, how could I add a here so that these guys can hook in their customizations in that place? You know
exactly,
what I mean?
exactly. No, I'm seeing what you mean. Um, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm already sort of picturing it in my mind how that might look. Um, so yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. Let me think. Yeah, Yeah, I definitely will be taking a look at those, and hopefully I'll have something to show you guys next month on that as well. But yeah, so
Cool.
I apologize, guys. I'm a bit tired. I haven't been thinking. I'm sorry, I haven't been sleeping
It's all
very
right.
well lately.
I was gonna say I don't know that like mine was like the most groundbreaking work either. I just kind of just had to make something easier for testing multiple different operating systems was the main thing. Because it's not that tool scripts was bad, um, but maybe there was just because I did some pull requests to it to improve it earlier on, and I found a lot of it useful, but just kept running into too many things. But I agree. I would like to like not. It would be nice if I could just build upstream GNUstep a lot easier as well, because it's nice to compare the plain thing without our themes, without our stuff, to like um, isolate issues, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. And yeah, I mean, hey, as however much collaboration we need to do in order to make that happen is fine with
So
me.
like if a GNUstep app doesn't work, let's just say TalkSoup or something, it's nice
Mhm.
to have like a reference system of just more plain GNUstep without all our optimizations,
Right.
and like be able to run it on the same platforms, because uh, I think that's probably the biggest thing is the platform support, just getting as many as possible working. Or even Windows. I would love to run GNUstep on Windows. It's just I haven't figured out how to bootstrap it all easily through the same.
Oh yes, I would love to have the Gershwin desktop on Windows as
Yeah,
well.
and I hear what Pro Bono's saying, because I don't really want to invent that part just for Gershwin and not
Mhm.
have GNUstep also be able to take advantage of it. Like if we made it easy, super easy to build on Windows, it would be nice if GNUstep had that, not just Gershwin, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Absolutely.
That way everybody benefits.
Is PicoPixel available on Windows? Twilight?
Um, oh, he says, I wonder if you could have two different GNU-step installs on the same machine in different directories that you could swap between by modifying the GNUstep.conf file.
Yes, I can tell from experience because I had
Mhm.
that running inadvertently for a while. When I was still learning all this stuff, I ended up with distro installed GNUstep and also Gershwin installed GNUstep, and you can have it because all files are totally separated. You have to be very careful, though, to run which apps with which GNUstep. Otherwise, unpleasant things will happen.
Hmm. Um, I don't know if I'm, but I think Twilight has answered this before in previous um, meetings. I don't think that there is a GNU-step, sorry, a Windows version of PicoPixel, but I think he was working on one, if I remember correctly. Can you confirm or deny that, Twilight?
And at some point, I had looked into building GNUstep for Windows. I found some instructions on the web and also some examples on GitHub, but I didn't really succeed with it so far. So if someone has succeeded, I would be very happy to get a hint where to look.
Oh,
I,
you
I
mean?
th-
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
the main thing I ran into was like MSys2 or whatever. There was a separate MSys2 repo to get it going, not outside of tool scripts. And the package availability within that for running something like Workspace, it doesn't seem to have like libpng and different things that I don't know. Uh, it's
Yeah,
that
there's. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that's. I'll just finish with that. I think that's one of the barriers that may make running out things outside of core libs work. But it would be nice if there was a way to build the Windows version with Gmake and all those things too. And I don't think that MSys2 thing supports Gmake, and it doesn't support GNU Make files.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes it kind of harder.
Well, no, I mean MSys2 does it does have Gmake, but it does not. Okay, it's a bit complicated. MSys2 can build GNUstep using GCC and the old libobjective-C. So you only get GNUstep, Objective-C 1.0 features that way. There are the other way to build GNUstep is using MSVC. I wrote this while I was at Keysight, in sort of collaboration with the guys at. The other individuals who wanted it were the people at Algorithm. So sort of like collaborated with them on that as well, and it is possible to. The only issue is that in order to do that, you need to bootstrap it by installing MSVC, because some of the scripts are still written using it, to patch and to update some of the source code in order to actually build the stuff with a version of Clang that is compatible with Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code, so that you can so you can build actually like true Microsoft applications using it. And you don't have to have the extra environment hanging around. Yeah. Twilight says the release last week did add support for installing workarounds on unknown window managers, so that might make it run a bit better if built on Windows. But I don't run or test it on that OS. You okay, Lars?
Yeah, I had some spit in the throat.
I mean, speaking of attracting more users for GNUstep frameworks, I could totally imagine that having support for Windows, Linux, BSDs, macOS, and also ideally matching pipelines, GitHub Action pipelines, predefined ones that make it really easy to get started and build it for all those platforms. That would be, for me as an app developer, something I would be very interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mac OS is the hardest one because it was like trying to run Wine on Windows or.
Yeah, I mean, well, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, it only makes sense to do sort of like comparison with, their operating system. It doesn't, but yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass. Though I've heard that some people have gotten it working somehow. I'm not sure.
There was
I was blocked by libobjective-C because it already had Objective-C.
There was a short period where it worked, but not very long. It was between 10.04 to 10.5 or something like that. I've seen it on somebody's laptop running side by side with Coco, but I never got it installed on my machine. I hadn't a sufficient machine at the moment. And after I got a new machine, it already stopped working again. There are also Mac ports for GNUsteps, but they are unmaintained.
Yep, I've hit that too.
But Adam Fedor helped a lot in making GNUstep run on Darwin initially. At the beginning, Darwin was also available as standalone OS. You could install it on machines, but that's no longer
Right.
the way. Maybe this Raven OS is the replacement for that. I have no idea.
That's the closest thing I've seen right now, because sadly the lead developer of Pure Darwin passed away.
Really?
Yeah, they had cancer or something. And
Wow.
I don't know if anyone else has picked it up since he's.
Wow. I did not know that. I was wondering what happened to Pure Darwin.
Too sad.
But I can see where that is an uphill battle, because although Apple releases the source code in their, after the fact, as used to be tarballs, now it's in Git, but still kind of it's like it's not open development. It's just we're releasing the source code because we have to, and they intentionally make it hard to build things like the kernel. So if you go clone XNU and try to build it even on a Mac, it won't work because you don't have the internal Apple SDK folder. So you'd have to build all that with all the CMake rules to mimic that to even build the kernel. So they release the code, but it's not buildable by anyone because they don't release the build system.
I don't think I mean, I was involved with Pure Darwin in the very early days. I don't know whether you're aware of that, but the way I understand it is that it's actually not that Apple builds Darwin and then puts macOS on top of it. It's actually the other way around. So oftentimes when something didn't work, we were in contact with some helpful Apple guys, and they had to, first of all, hunt down things internally to remove all the macOS bits so that it became Darwin and buildable. So I wouldn't say doing it intentionally complicated or anti-OSS. It's just that they develop macOS first and foremost, and then they rip out the parts that are proprietary to make Darwin, and not the other way around.
I did not know that. That adds up then. That's why. I just assumed they had some other closed build system that they just can't publish because it's building Mac OS.
So that was at least the impression I got back in the time, but that is a long time ago. I don't know how it's working these days.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's like I can kind of understand why that's an uphill battle, or why Pure Darwin it was an uphill battle to keep up, because over time more and more components got closed, and they have to re-implement all those pieces that don't exist, including bootloaders.
Interesting.
I think it would be harder to continue. I think it would be easier to bring GNU Herd up to spec with Claude than to try to re-implement, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how Raven OS plays out. I mean, certainly if they get a bootable image, I'm going to try it. I'd be very interested.
At least they understand to make websites.
Who does? I'm sorry, Lars.
Raven OS.
Yeah, their website is actually very attractive.
Yeah, I played with it even before they started doing the Darwin thing on FreeBSD, and it was pretty cool. I mean, they had their own display server and stuff, and you could run a terminal and had a menu. And I mean, I was pretty impressed with what they did on FreeBSD alone, even reporting LaunchD, because that is not an easy feat.
No, not at all. Understandable. All right, guys. I have to get some sleep. I am. Let's see. One last thing. Twilight says, from an app developer's perspective, the incompatibilities I'm working on are more at the window manager level. Every different desktop environment / window manager seems to have its own issues. This new release of PicoPixel just fixed some issues with GNOME. Also now works with Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi's LA Lab WC Wayland compositor, but only on Trixie. GNUstep is completely broken on Bookworm Raspberry Pi OS unless you manually switch Bookworm from Lab WC Wayland to OpenBox X11. Interesting.
I mean, with Wayland, your mileage varies largely depending on which implementation you are using, because each one supports a different subset of the specs.
Yeah,
And
GNUstep also has a Wayland backend that you can turn on.
Mm-hmm.
But you're probably better off running it in X11 mode because of the pickiness of compositors, and they all behave differently. And there's no, I mean, I think they only just really started that spec to allow Windows to position themselves for apps like GIMP or probably PicoPixel and things. So I don't know that. Yeah, it's. I probably have more to say on that, but I have to think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know that it would be ever easy for until Wayland has more common protocols for GNUstep to be self-sufficient in Wayland without its own compositor, if that makes any sense, because the it's
they are kind of opinionated about their features they allow or want to have.
yes.
They don't want to place Windows arbitrarily because you could cover up something. Yeah, you know. But that's not their task, I would say.
The other option I could see is running GNUstep in the mode on Linux that allows it to handle its own decorations and then bypass the window manager or compositor completely. Maybe that would work better. I'm not really sure offhand. But then it wouldn't integrate with the window manager's look and feel would be the downside.
I wonder why no other people came like Fred or Ricardo or
Richard, I don't know.
Fred.
But one thing I would suggest, well, you probably already have done some of these things, would be like enabling things like suppress app icon, because you probably don't want those things in other window managers. And I think the Windows 95 style theme is probably more compatible than the next step theme.
Yeah, there is a the theme that is usually used on Windows is WinUX theme, which uses the WinUX DLL that that loads the actual like theme on Windows. That's how we achieve theme compatibility on Windows. Is we use Windows' own theming URL. I mean, a DLL to generate the the widgets that are needed.
Right. Or there was the GTK engine that could integrate better with GNOME and stuff, but you don't have anything for like Qt. And the problem with that approach is then that's like a separate theme for every different desktop you want to integrate with.
Well, I mean, there would have to be. Yeah. Yeah.
Unless somebody made like a new theme engine or something that just allowed it to kind of pick up and play dynamically with various options. I'm not sure. The problem is like that I see is that you have to build it one way to make it work really great in KDE, and you have to build it a completely different way to make it work really great in GNOME. Or
Okay. Let me see. Usama says he has to go now. Later, Usama.
Later, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I really have to go too, guys, because like I said, I haven't been sleeping well lately, and I'm extraordinarily tired. But it's been really nice talking to all of y'all, and
Thank you for being here.
you're very welcome. I'm sorry I was a little bit late, but yeah, like I
Thank
said,
you very much for hosting this.
oh, you're welcome. Always my pleasure. It's
And you put the recordings online again on YouTube on your channel.
Yep. As soon as probably about a few hours after I get off.
Yeah, get some sleep first, of course.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some sleep first, and then as soon as I wake up, I'm gonna go ahead and post them. But yeah, uh, they've actually been doing pretty well. The views, I think I have a few hundred now, or a little, maybe just under 1,000. Not great, but not bad. Um, so yeah, let's see.
Was very interesting today for me.
Mhm.
Thank
Yeah,
you all.
yeah, same. Same. All right, guys, I'm going to stop the recording here. Let me see. There we go.